Our top story, US President Joe Biden will host the Indian Prime Minister for an official state visit to the United States. The visit includes a state dinner and an address to the joint session of the US Congress. Today, the Indian Foreign Ministry will be holding a press meeting and detail the Prime Minister's schedule. Ahead of Prime Minister Modi's historic visit, Indian Americans held a unity march across cities in the United States.
But there's lots of excitement and enthusiasm ahead of Indian Prime Minister's visit. We know that he begins his visit later this week. I'm standing at Times Square and I'm joined by a few Indians here. Let us speak to them. Ma'am, how do you see the Indian Prime Minister's visit? How do you think that it will cement the relationship further?
Indian Prime Minister Modi is already very popular all over the world, and we are very excited. His second visit here to the America.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So that's the view on the ground when it comes to the visit of the Indian Prime Minister. This is his visit when it comes to the second visit since his second term, I would like to point out, because he had visited US in 2021. But if we talk about from 2014, there have been several visits, almost yearly visit. He was in US in 2014, 15, 16. And then, of course, we saw how essentially there were reciprocal visits by the American president as well. The president, Barack Obama, was the chief guest at the Republic Day Parade of India as well. But if we talk about the current visit, the visit that will happen this week, this visit is the first official state visit of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and this visit will see a lot of substantive outcomes.
The Indian Prime Minister's visit will begin in New York, where he will lead the celebrations of the International Day of Yoga at the headquarters of the United Nations. Starting in 2014, the International Day of Yoga has become one of the major events in the annual calendar of activities of the United Nations. Amid China's territorial ambitions, Washington is working to deepen ties with the world's largest democracy and sees deeper military-to-military and technology ties. The Biden administration is all set to sign a deal that would allow the United States-based General Electric to produce engines for military aircraft on Indian soil. While India can manufacture jets domestically, it is keen to get the technical know-how to make aircraft engines. India intends to produce more than 350 fighter jets for its Air Force and Navy over the next 2 decades, which could be powered by General Electric's engine 414.
With the United States and India standing at a transformative moment as far as their relationship is concerned, the deal to jointly manufacture fighter jet engines is expected to be one of the biggest deliverables of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden state visit to the United States, and will serve as a major boost to US-India defense ties. Molly Gambhir in New York for WION The World is one.
Last May, Biden and Prime Minister Modi announced a bilateral initiative on critical and emerging technology dubbed as ICET. The two leaders directed their governments to work together on advanced tech from AI to semiconductor chips and quantum computing, especially in defense. Joining us live from Times Square in New York is our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal. Siddhant, tell us about the significance of this visit, the mood on the ground, and what are the outcomes that are expected from this state visit?
Well, the Indian Prime Minister begins his visit to United States later this week. I'm standing at Times Square. It's past 12:30 a.m. Monday morning. But of course, there will be a lot of focus here in New York when it comes to Yoga Day celebrations, which takes place on Wednesday. A number of celebrities, influencers, diplomats will be present in the Yoga Day celebration that the Indian Prime Minister will be leading. And remember, it was the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi who gave the idea of Yoga Day when he addressed the United Nations General Assembly way back in 2014. And since then, it has become a celebration of sort. But essentially, this is an official state visit of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the United States, the highest level diplomatic protocol being accorded by the Biden administration. And we will see substantive outcomes, something which we have been talking about, the defense deals. But essentially, it will also see celebration of relationship as to how both the democracies have come closer, see each other as a strategic partnership at a time of global geopolitical contestation with the rise of China. The United States and India both are acutely aware of a very aggressive China. And that, of course, remains part of the conversation, especially when both the leaders, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden meet in Washington later this week.
All right, Siddhant, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us with those details from New York.